welcome everybody to the fourth episode of the second season of the Waad Academy podcast. Today's episode is hosted by myself, Hamza Jambi, alongside
Mohammed Gari,
as well as
Abdurrahman Bahadik.
And the topic for today's episode is, I think, a topic that will interest a lot of students in Waad Academy, especially those who are towards the end of their high school journey and are creeping up on college. So today's topic is everything to know about colleges, the application process, what's the difference between colleges in different countries, what documents we'll need, how to prepare, and how to choose your major. And to start off this episode, I wanted to ask a question to both of you, and that is, which universities are you planning to apply to, and what qualities attracted you to these universities? So Gary, we'll start off with you.
Well, I'm applying to University of Kyoto in Japan, as well as Keisei University and Seoul National Day in South Korea. And the reason why I chose these universities specifically is because, first of all, I have connections to a lot of people that went to these universities. My uncle, for example, he went to Seoul National University and he graduated from there. And I have some distant relatives in Japan studying Kyoto University. The main attraction I have towards Kyoto University is that, and other universities, is that they emphasize independent learning and independent study. And I value these qualities a lot because I don't like being restricted by professors and by teachers.
Yeah. So the learning style is different from countries like the US or colleges in the UK, for example.
Well, I think you should take a look at it from a university to university basis. I think each university has a different style of its own, and I think you should research that before choosing which university to apply to.
Okay, yeah. And you said you had family there, or your uncle used to work there.
Yeah.
Now, I remember you told me that your uncle used to study at Seoul University.
Yeah.
And you used to live there too, alongside.
Yeah. When my uncle first started studying at Seoul National University, my family, my father, my siblings, and my mother, we lived in South Korea alongside him for about 2 years and then we came back.
So do you think that's also a factor that should come into play when deciding which colleges to go to? I mean, how far away from your family? I mean, 4 years is a long time.
Yeah.
And even though you'll go back on breaks and holidays and things like that, still the majority of your time is going to be spent away from your family, your friends. So do you think that also plays into account?
Yeah, because I think people tend to struggle. Like my uncle, he struggled a lot when he studied in Seoul National University because, well, first of all, it was in a completely different language. He had to learn Korean before even starting his studies. And second of all, he wasn't used to the style and the culture that was there. And I think he was held back a few years, I think, and he eventually managed to graduate, but he struggled a lot in his years.
So it's a whole different environment from the culture, from the language, from the people you're around. It's a whole different environment. So yeah, it's a new experience. So you should definitely take that into account. Now, I know Bahadik, I was speaking to you before. I know you said that you wanted to go to the University of Melbourne or go to Australia in general. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yes, that's right. Australia is a bit different when it comes to studies. There is more like learning with the lecture. So it's all about like a bit different from self-learning. The culture there is a bit different. The weather, I think that's a priority for me.
Okay, so not only was the college itself a factor, but also the location.
The location.
Yeah, and should price also be a factor, do you think? I mean, in Melbourne or Sydney, is there a difference in price or living expenses that you factor in when you chose a university in Melbourne rather than Sydney?
When it comes to the most popular cities in Australia, both Sydney and Melbourne are popular places. But I personally prefer Melbourne because of the price, as well as it is more internationally welcomed by students. And when it comes to the ranks of the universities in Melbourne, they certainly place higher.
Interesting. So alongside all we talked about, ranking was another factor that you used to decide which college to apply to.
Of course, because if you look at the University of Melbourne, it ranks 30 overall in the higher rankings, in the world rankings. So I think that's very important, especially for students that are going to different pathways when choosing the scholarship.
Yeah.
Because as you're familiar with the Rawad,
Misal Rawad.
Masar Rawad, yeah, you get the option to pick whatever major you like. And I think that's important for students that are willing to like their majors isn't specifically in IMDAD.
And that's why. And that's why you wanted to go to Melbourne as well, is because it's in Misal Rawad, which is the ministry scholarship. Yeah. So it takes a bunch of the top colleges, the top 30 colleges worldwide, in Misal Rawad. There's also Misal Rimdad. I don't know if you've heard. Which is the top 200 colleges, but for specific majors.
Yeah.
So that should also be a factor, shouldn't it, when applying to colleges, seeing if it's among the government scholarship. I know, Gary, you were speaking previously about University of Kyoto. Is that in Misar al-Imdad or Misar Rawad as well?
It's in Misar al-Imdad. It's not quite in the top 30 universities in the world. It's ranked number 46 overall, but mainly due to its lack of international facilities. Right. But it does. But after doing research, it does. The Misar al-Imdad does provide the scholarship for the course that I've chosen.
And Misar al-Imdad is major specific, so it's the top 200 colleges specific to each major. So what major did you want to apply to that was also part of Misar al-Imdad in University of Kyoto?
I applied to the Faculty of Engineering and Chemical Science and Technology. Basically, chemical engineering as well as other like nanotechnology engineering and other majors.
Now, I think if you take a look at the ministry scholarship, Misar al-Imdad, Misar Rawad, I think you'll find a lot of majority of the universities there are American universities. Yeah. So you'll find UC Berkeley, Harvard, Yale, all these top universities are part of the Misar Rawad and Misar al-Imdad. So what do you think? Like these are the colleges that you want to apply to, because these are colleges that offer scholarships. So what do you think it is specifically about the U.S. Curriculum or the U.S. Method of or the U.S. colleges that make it among the top and attract students?
Well, I think first of all, they are very diverse. They welcome people from all around the world, from all walks of life, and I think that's very appealing to a lot of people. And I think also the research that comes out of these universities and the history that's born from these universities are very rich. Generally, U.S. universities tend to focus on general education. They allow people to study many different subjects that maybe are not related to their chosen majors, and that can be appealing to some people. Whereas I think other people might prefer like the UK style of teaching, where it's only the things you need, the bare essentials, and you might be able to get out of university in 3 years instead of 4. So that also could be appealing to certain types of people.
Because I know in the U.S. that even if you choose a specific major, you'll have to take general education courses or courses that are outside your major. Like, for example, if I chose an engineering major, a mechanical engineering, I would still have to take English classes. I'd have to take history class, for example, or a variety of classes that aren't related to my major. And this is called general education. And for some people, this might be something that's appealing. You know, they want to broaden their knowledge in all types of ways.
Having the freedom to study what you like and explore different subjects.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you're not dead set on your major, you know? You're only high school students. You don't know, you can't be sure what you want to do for the rest of your life. Yeah. So, yeah. But I know for people who don't like that, I know in the UK that it's actually a 3-year for a bachelor course, and all the courses are major specific. Like if you were taking a mechanical engineering major, you wouldn't take any English courses or history courses, for example. And I think that it depends on your personal preference. So if you're a person who wants to get into the working field right away, who knows dead set what they want to major in, who wants to major in that and learn that deeply, I think UK might be more appealing to you. However, if you're not certain, or you want to explore more, or you just want to like widen your horizons, the U.S. might be more appealing. And also, I know that in the UK that they also have an accelerated master's course, for
Yes,
example.
that's true.
Do you know about that?
I think you can get a master's degree in 4 years. If you skip the foundation year, obviously, you have to do the A levels beforehand. And I think it's called the MENG for engineering, for example. You can choose to either get a BENG, which is just a bachelor's degree in an engineering course, or an MENG, which is a full bachelor's degree and master's together in 4 years.
Yeah.
And I think that's also a plus to UK universities.
Yeah, the time spent abroad would be less. For some people, it might be preferable. You know, they want to study and they want to come home right away to their family. They want to get working. And to other people, maybe they want to, they want to explore the world a little bit more. But I know for the UK colleges, we were talking before about how it's 3 years for bachelor's, 4 years for master's. But that's not always the case, is it? For the bachelor's program, if you want to do a 3-year program, then you would need to take A levels, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you have to complete your A levels beforehand.
Yeah, but if you don't complete A levels, there's always a foundation year that you could do, which would be an extra year that you do, which is more general education and build the basis of your knowledge so you could start college. But these foundation programs, that you get into with no A levels, I know that some of them aren't guaranteed.
Yeah.
So once you get into the foundation
I think
program,
the UCL program, the UPC, I think it's called, the undergraduate preparatory course.
yeah.
You receive the certificate and then you have to apply afterwards.
And so it's 2 applications, one for the foundation program and another for the college.
Yeah, the application for the foundation program is actually open until I think the end of July. So it's you don't have to apply now. If you haven't been accepted at your chosen universities, you can later choose to apply for the UPC.
Okay, so that takes the pressure off a little bit.
However, when it comes to U.S. universities, you don't have a master's program. So after you finish your bachelor's, you would go to a graduate school where you would do your PhD right away. And that would be also more years, primarily.
So that's interesting to note. There's no combined bachelor's and master's program for the U.S. colleges. And previously, we were speaking about the foundation year. I know you wanted to apply to the University of Melbourne, and I wanted to touch on something that for some universities, the foundation year, you're not guaranteed acceptance into the university once you get into the foundation year. It's a second application. First for the foundation year and second for the university. I know that for the University of Melbourne, however, that once you get into the foundation year, if you pass your exams and you don't fail, you're guaranteed acceptance into the University of Melbourne. Is that correct?
That's true. If you get certain marks in the foundation year, where it would be a different location to the university itself, after you pass that, you can get into the university itself.
100%? No string attached?
100%.
Okay.
You just have to pass certain grades. So if you get over 70%, by your final year, then you're guaranteed admission.
Okay, and that's a very, very important thing to note. Now, I have a question that I want to ask both of you, another question. And it's, if you were knowing the knowledge you know now, if you could redo the application process from the beginning, what would you do different? And how do you prepare different?
I think the first thing you need to do is just get all of your documents in order. You have to make sure you have all your reports from your previous years. You have to have your results for the standardized tests that you took, for example, the SAT, the IGCSEs, the A levels.
And the SAT is for U.S. colleges?
The SAT is not just for U.S. colleges. Many international universities also accept SATs. Even in Japan and South Korea, they accept the SAT, and in countries like Singapore, they also accept the SAT.
Okay, and when should you take it?
I think you should try a few times. You shouldn't just attempt it once and just...
Yeah, give yourself time just in case you
How did you prepare it for it, Gary?
Well, for me, preparing for the SAT was... I just studied. There wasn't much to it. I just did practice questions online, and I just kept studying just doing practice questions over and over again until I got the hang of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's important to leave yourself some room. Don't do it right before the college application deadline.
Yeah.
Do it the year before. If you mess up the first time, it's okay. You can do it again. If you mess up the second time, it's okay. You could do it again.
Yeah.
Okay, so apart from the SAT, what
Well, you also need, if you're applying internationally, I think it's very important to have an English proficiency exam prepared, like the IELTS or the TOEFL or the Duolingo test. You should have that prepared as well. For example, the IELTS, almost all universities internationally will accept the IELTS.
Okay.
Because when it comes to countries that don't speak English, many students have a hard time speaking the language. So I think they should really like have a base on their language first, and then they can take the exam. So later when they join university, they wouldn't have a hard time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because most of the English, especially in Western universities, most of the courses will be in English.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, you said what you do different is you prepare your documents, and what else?
Yeah, and I think you should also get your letters of recommendation early, so you can make sure you don't, your teacher isn't late, he isn't procrastinating. You have to get them early, and you have to prepare them.
Yeah, I recommend messaging your teachers the summer before 12th grade,
Yeah.
like maybe in August before 12th grade. Just have your teachers in mind that you want your recommendations letter to be coming from,
Yeah.
and maybe message them so they know.
I think your essays, you should have to start working on your essays pretty early, and I think because for Western universities, they're a pretty big determining factor on whether you get accepted or not. Yeah. So I think you should definitely prepare your essays beforehand so that you make sure they're absolutely perfect.
Yeah. I mean, the big essay for the U.S. colleges is called the personal statement, and it's the essay that you need to write for most colleges, excluding the universities of California. And what that is, it's a 650-word document. You'll get the prompts in August. That's when they release, and you'll have to answer one of these prompts, explaining basically your whole life journey in 650 words. It's a daunting task, and it's not easy. You have to explain your whole personality, what type of person you are, what motivates you in only 650 words. So definitely prepare that early. Don't leave it till the last second. And after you prepared all these documents and these essays.
But also while having your essays ready, I think you should have someone proofreading it.
Yeah, that's very
Having
important.
someone reading it, seeing professionals, see any grammatic errors in the way you write your essays.
Especially the people that you know best and that know you best. If you have them read your essays, they could tell you which part of this is most impactful, which part of this you need to expand on more. Because this is going to be describing you. It's describing all your 16 years of life, all the lessons you've learned, all the 4 years of high school, how you've prepared for them, how you've studied during them.
So
what
the
you've done
admission
during them.
officers would know you the best.
Exactly. So you need to have people who've known you throughout that time, who could read your essay and help you kind of figure it out and write it out. So that's very important. And you were mentioning before, Gary, that for this application, you needed to prepare early. That's one of the things you mentioned. But after you've prepared, what now?
After you've prepared, I think you should make a list of each university and what the requirements are, because some universities may require different things from you. So you have to keep that in mind. And also, the big thing you need to keep in mind are deadlines. Almost every university has a different deadline from one another. So you should prepare. You should make sure you're not missing any. And you have to also be aware of when applications start, because some universities, they start pretty late. Like, for example, National University of Singapore, they start in March. Their application process is pretty late. And other universities, their application process ends in October. So you have to keep this, make sure you keep everything in mind. You have to write down all the universities you're applying to, the application, when it starts and when it ends.
So start the research on colleges from the beginning of the year, or maybe even in the summer. In the summer, you should spend that time researching colleges. Me personally, when I wanted to apply for the University of Washington, I was very surprised to learn that the application was on November 15th. So I learned that 5 days before. So I was rushing my entire application trying to meet the deadline. So it's very important that you prepare the colleges before and the deadlines. When I applied for the University of Washington, I applied through the Common App. Do you know what that is, Gary?
Yeah, the Common App. It's the website that you can use to apply to almost all universities in the U.S., minus the universities of California. So it's a very important app that you should be familiar with.
Yeah, so it's one application where you fill out your personal statement, your extracurriculars, your grades, your tests that you did, for example, the IELTS, the SAT, one application where you fill it out, and then you could send it to multiple colleges across the U.S., up to 20 colleges, except for the University of California. The universities of California, which are also among the top colleges in the U.S., they have their own separate application called the UC application. And this differs slightly from the Common App. Instead of having to write one 650-word personal statement, you'll have to write four 350-word personal insight questions. And this will be questions like, what are the toughest challenge you faced in your life? What is your greatest skill or talent? For example, they change them every year. So this is a separate application that you use to apply to the universities of California, which you should know.
And why did you choose Washington specifically?
The reason I chose Washington is because, first of all, one of my friends goes there. Okay. So I already have like a few connections there. So it wouldn't be a hard time adjusting if I already know somebody there. And also it's in Masar al-Imdad from the Betha. So that's one of the factors I considered as well.
And when you compare Washington to, for example, different states in the U.S., do you think it's safe and welcoming for international students?
Yeah, I mean, University of Washington welcomes a lot of international students. So there's certainly a diverse community. And the U.S. in general has a lot of immigrants and people from all types of backgrounds. Sure. So, yeah. Bahadik, I know you wanted to apply to University of Melbourne. Is there a common application or a separate type of form to apply to in Australia?
For Australia, it's a bit different. You apply to the university itself through its website. For the deadlines in Australia, they usually begin in around March. So it's a bit different from the UK and the US. Okay. And when you apply before March, you'd be applying to the year after. Okay. So I'm applying, for example, right now, but I'll begin not this March, next March. So after I graduate.
All right, so the school year starts later.
So the school year starts later.
Yeah. And for the UK, I know that they have a UCAS system.
Yeah.
Not the Common App.
It's a similar application to the Common App, but you're limited to only 5 UK universities. That's it. These are the only universities you can apply to.
So you have to choose wisely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I recommend if you're applying to the UK to take your A-levels, because you don't want to go in foundation year. You don't want to spend an extra year where you might not even be guaranteed entry into the college. So I recommend if you're applying to the UK, take your A-levels, take your IGCSEs, put them on the UCAS application. And another thing to note is in the UCAS application, you will also be required to write a personal statement. Yeah. But this personal statement in the UCAS application, it differs from the personal statement in the US. In the US, they care a lot about your your personality and the achievements and the things you've done for your community. Sort of the things you've done outside of school, as much as the things you've done inside school. They care about both. In the UK, for your UCAS personal statement, they want you to focus on the things you've done specific to your major, how you've advanced your knowledge in your major. Did you join any competitions, take any extra courses? Did you read any extra books, listen to any videos or lectures online? That's what they want to learn about. That's what they want to know about in your UCAS personal statement. In the US personal statement, they want your personality. And also in the US Common App application, they want to know also about your extracurriculars. And they focus a lot on your extracurriculars. Like I'd say about 60% is grades and 40% is extracurriculars. So if you want to go to a US university, I recommend starting from grade 9, the beginning of high school, according to the US curriculum. Join a lot of clubs, join a lot of competitions, take a lot of courses, start your own clubs, show leadership, show interest, and that will help you towards your getting accepted into your dream college.
And the UK, would you emphasize more on grades or your extracurriculars?
Yeah, the UK, there's something else. There's something called supercurriculars. Okay. And what supercurriculars are things you do that are related to your major. So for example, if I want to go into engineering, A super curricular would be taking college level courses on engineering, attending engineering lectures, maybe working with a engineering professor in college, maybe building robots, maybe building machines. That would be a super curricular, which is advancing your knowledge in a specific academic subject. Whereas extracurriculars are outside of school and outside of academics.
So for students that have a low GPA, for example, would you recommend them to go to US universities or UK universities?
If you have a low GPA, and I would recommend going to US colleges or taking a foundation year in the UK colleges and studying diligently and passing the foundation year. But in US colleges, if your GPA is lower, if you've not done so well, maybe on the first year of high school, if you've dropped a little, then it's not over. If you have a lot of subjects that you're passionate in, that you've done a lot of activities in, then this will be considered greatly in your application. If you write your essay really well, it'll be considered greatly. It's not the end of the world if your grades are not so good.
You still have a chance to get into
you still have a chance. You still have a chance, definitely, for sure. Another thing I want to talk about on this podcast today is major choice. Gadi, I heard you said you wanted to be an engineering major.
Yeah.
How did you decide that?
Well, I think for me, it's about what my interests were. When I first started my A levels, for example, what I found most interesting to me was chemistry, physics. These interests, I was fascinated with these subjects, and I wanted to study them more deeply. And I think from that, it led me to choose engineering as a major, as it would help me, and specifically chemical engineering, as that would and
combine both chemistry
yeah,
and physics.
Chemistry, physics, and math. It was that's why I chose my major, because I enjoyed these subjects very much.
Yeah, and you were already good at them.
Yeah,
exactly. And Bahalik, for you, what would your major be?
For me, I'm really interested in science, so mostly physics. I think physics has great opportunities both here and outside.
So you have a personal interest in this subject. That's why you decided to.
And when I find myself always searching and digging more, I'm always curious. So I think that led me, like my personality made me choose the major that I want to.
What would you say to a person who had an interest in a major that's not so popular or that's not as highly regarded? Like, let's say somebody's interested in art. What do you say to them?
Well, I think studying art, there are many universities that specialize in arts, and the students that come out of it do turn out very successful. But I think the chance of achieving that success is very low, and even the acceptance rate at the top, arts universities is also very difficult.
Yeah, so only the most extraordinary students make it to the top in a major like art.
And if you're not in the top, I don't think you'll be able to achieve much.
Yeah, so another thing that I think people should factor in when deciding their major is the job market. What type of jobs will you get after engineering, after college? Is there a lot of open positions, and how well do these pay? So that's another thing you should consider. The job market, how much do they pay, and what are you personally interested in?
Yeah, and I think if you haven't chosen a major, it's not that big of a deal. In the U.S., for example, you are able to hold an undeclared major.
Yeah,
and even in Eastern universities like Tokyo University, they pride themselves in their liberal arts program. So you would take 2 years of your bachelor's degree studying a wide range of subjects, from science and other subjects, and then in the last 2 years of your degree, you would just choose a major. You would choose a major during the last 2 years after studying so many different subjects and a lot of different topics. And even KAIST University in South Korea, you're able to hold. Every student would be forced to hold a 1-year undeclared major. So you would apply to either the Faculty of Engineering, Faculty of Science, Faculty of whatever, and then after you get accepted, you have to spend 1 year studying a broad range of subjects, and then later, after that ends, you would choose which major you want to specialize in.
Okay, that's very helpful.
A really popular thing students are beginning to do is having this gap year after school, just to explore their interests and see what they like, take maybe some college courses or try to explore different faculties in university before applying.
Yeah, that's also a possibility that students can take or consider. But during this gap year, if you're planning to apply to the top colleges, you should consider that during the gap year, if you don't do anything productive, it might harm your chances.
Yeah, you can't just sit around and do nothing.
I mean, a lot of universities, they encourage gap years, but you have to be productive. You have to do as much as you can during that gap year.
Yeah, and that's for the top colleges. If you want to get into a good college, a decent college, but you don't feel prepared for university, then feel free and take a gap year. Okay, and that about wraps up all the points we wanted to discuss today. Thank you all for listening. Once again, it was me, Hamza Jambi.
Muhammad Gad.
Abdurrahman Bahadi.
Make sure to check out all the new episodes and all the episodes previous. Thank you.